As we kick off our meeting this evening, we'd like to take a moment just to acknowledge, and we'll talk a little bit more about Women's History Month later today, and some of our crossroads intersections, our scholars, our namesakes of schools, as well as the many, many contributions of women across our community. So I want to thank you all for joining us. I'd like to, actually, I want to remind folks who are online, if you haven't done so, to please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the call. So additionally, if you're not a board member of the CEO and her staff, we ask that you please turn off your video for tonight unless called upon. I'll now read a roll call of the board to identify who is on the call. Please identify yourself first before speaking for the record, and I'll go through the roll call for each vote this evening. Vice Chair Parker, absent this evening. Commissioner Ames Messenger.
Ames Messenger present.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioner Ames Messenger. Commissioner Coy is absent, I believe. Commissioner Esposito.
Commissioner Esposito present.
Thank you. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Thank you. Commissioner Mohammed. You might be joining us. Commissioner Redding-Lollinger.
Redding-Lollinger present.
Thank you. Commissioner Rooks.
Commissioner Rooks present.
Thank you. Commissioner Slater-Harrington.
Commissioner Slater-Harrington present.
Thank you. And I am also present. Is there a motion to reopen the meeting?
So moved, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor, Commissioner Ames Messenger?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Redding-Lollinger?
Yes.
Commissioner Rooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater-Harrington?
Yes.
Thank you. And I'm also in favor. This motion passes. Our moment of silence this evening will be read by Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
I would like to take the time to recognize the passing of city school students. Each of these individuals were a part of our school communities. They will be remembered fondly by the greater city schools community. Tonight, we send our deepest condolences to their friends and families. Frederick Douglass High School, number 450. Domontre Hickman. Domontre Hickman was a ninth grader at Frederick Douglass High School. He was well liked as a young man who loved to play sports and was interested in biology and history. Domontre will be greatly missed by his family, school community, and friends. At the William S. Baer School, number 301, Winter Nichols. Winter Nichols joined Baer during the 2017 to 2018 school year at the age of 3. From the very beginning, she brightened our days with her infectious smile, her laughter and giggles. Always up for a challenge, she enjoyed engaging with both her classmates and the adults around her. However, she also had a unique way of expressing her disapproval. Her loving look whenever interacting with anyone. Winter worked very hard during all her therapy sessions and was a joy looked forward to in her return. But sadly, we lost her on February 5th at the age of 10. We are grateful that we had the privilege of knowing her vibrant personality and the love she shared with all of us over the past 7 years. The William S. Baer School, number 301, Zariah McGowan's. Zariah McGowan's also joined Baer during the 2017-2018 school year at the age of 3. She was a quiet student who always took time to observe her surroundings. if you were fortunate enough to receive one of her smiles or smirks, it was a truly special moment. It was a reminder of how beautiful life could be. She worked hard on her IEP objectives and always attempted to look at the choices presented to her. Let us take the time of silence to remember these students. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. I'd like to take a moment to welcome our 5 cadets from Polytechnic Institute to lead us through this next portion. Welcome.
Color guard. Halt. Freeze. Then colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order. Colors. Post. Cut.
Join me in extending a round of applause. I'd like to thank Cadet Diana Ritchie, who's our left rifle, Cadet Arvin Guerrero Ramos, our holding the flag, Cadet Lakia Rose on the Maryland flag, Cadet Evan Maddox on the right flag, and Cadet Luis Villanueva, who is our commander this evening. Very important to have these celebrations and opportunities to see our young people in action on JROTC. A motion to approve the prior open session summaries.
So moved, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. Is there a second?
Second, Rooks.
Thank you, Commissioner Rooks. All in favor? Commissioner Ames Messenger?
Ames Messenger, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Kenyatta Bay, yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm gonna see if Commissioner Mohammed joined us. No. Commissioner Reagan Lollinger?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Rooks.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm also in favor. This motion passes. Is there a motion to approve the closed session summaries?
So moved, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Esposito.
Thank you. All in favor? Commissioner Ames Messenger?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reagan Lollinger?
Yes.
Commissioner Rooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington?
Yes.
Thank you, and I am also in favor. This motion passes. So once again, I'd like to welcome everybody to our March 11th board meeting. For Women's History Month, it's a time where we reflect on the women who inspire us with their courage, their wisdom, and their compassion. Throughout history, women have been the driving force behind progress, change, and innovation. Their strengths and achievement improve many facets of our lives. To kick off the celebration of Women's History Month, the district created a webpage entirely devoted to the women whose names and legacies intertwine with the cultures of our schools. Visit the City Schools website to learn more about the historical women such as Alice G. Pinderhughes, who this facility is named after, Mary Rodman, Katherine Johnson, and more. We expect more amazing rollouts for Women's History Month coming. I want to turn it over for the second part of my board chair comments this evening to Commissioner Redding Lollinger to take us through an update on our CEO search.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Didn't know if I was by myself over here. Good to see you all. I would like to take the opportunity just to update the public on our CEO search process. And as everyone knows, we have committed to an open and transparent process and to bringing the public along the way for all steps of the process. If we could cue up the slides, thank you. Go to the next slide, please.
I am working on it right now. I thought it was showing. Give me one more second.
Problem. And I will go ahead and get started without the slides, and you can just sort of cue it up as we move along. But as folks know, there are three, I'll do a little bit of a recap, and then I will give you a quick update. As far as the recap is concerned, there are three guiding principles that we are holding true to throughout this process. The first is clear communication and transparency. So as soon as we have information that we are able to share about the search that we can share publicly, we commit to sharing it with the public. The second is stakeholder input. We want to make sure that as we are conducting the search, we hear loud and clear what the members of our community want out of our next CEO. And so we will engage in a series of community engagement focused events where we can hear from various stakeholders in the Baltimore community about what we want out of our next CEO. And then finally, we commit to a thoughtful transition. And we've already started this by starting the process early. As we know, this transition won't occur until next June, from next June to next July. So we've got ample time to be able to do just that. See, the slides are queued up. Thank you very much. Tanisha, we could go to the next slide. There are three main phases of the search process. The first has to do with profile development. That's where we'll be developing the profile of the next CEO, who the right person is to lead the school system into its next era. And of course, that will be highly dependent on the input that we get from the community. The second phase will be candidate recruitment, and obviously we'll be working with, with a reputable national partner to help us source the best candidates that we possibly can. It will be a national search.
We ask the public to make sure that all mics are muted, just so that we don't have any interference this evening.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to conduct a national search. The candidate recruitment will encompass the entire country. And finally, the final phase will be interviews and selection. And so there will be a very thoughtful process laid out for interviewing candidates, and finally landing on the next CEO of Baltimore City Schools, which will happen in July of 2026, so more than a year from now. To come back to the process, so the first phase of the process of developing a profile is the selection of a national search firm. And this board committed to engaging a national search firm and helping us conduct this process many months ago. And we are upholding that commitment. And the updates tonight have to do with that. If you could go to the next slide, please. So the first thing that we've done as a board is we have retained a communications firm to make sure that our communication throughout this process is clear, it's transparent, and it happens at regular occasions. You can go to the next slide, please, Tanisha. The second thing we did was release an RFP so that Proposals could be submitted from firms from across the country, firms that meet the minimum bar of having led these types of searches before, and are committed, represent themselves as committed partners to city schools in this process. And where we are now is we're in the process of taking the month of March to review the proposals that have been submitted. It's a very thorough process. There's vetting that happens at the city schools level, and then the committee is going to take the time to read every single proposal, ask questions of the proposals that have been submitted to those firms, and interview them as necessary to finally decide on one firm to work with city schools to lead this national search. That decision is going to happen sometime in the month of April, and then depending on when that decision happens, either in April or in May, the full board will vote on a contract with the firm that has been selected. And then that will really kick off the rest of the process in earnest, which is going to be starting in the late spring of this year and go through the various phases that I indicated earlier. That is the extent of the update. I do, if you could go to the last slide, Tanisha, I do want to remind folks that we have a dedicated email address for folks who have questions or comments or have any feedback about the process, input into the next CEO, any parts of this process. We've got a dedicated email. That email is ceosearch@bcps.k12.md.us. You can see it on the screen there. We are eager to hear from folks, and we look forward to hearing from all parties who want to have input into this process as we unveil the next steps of the process coming as soon as April. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate that. So, as Commissioner Redden Longer shared, this work that is transpiring is very much so takes the full effort of our entire board, and so we want to make sure that the public is aware as we move through these various stages with information. And so while it seems like just a little information is being shared at this point, we recognize the full expertise of our board as well as city school staff who are supporting us through this process. And so we'll be back with other updates regarding the search. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge Tina Hike-Hubbard, who is sitting in as acting Chief of Staff this evening. We appreciate that she's standing in for the next couple of board meetings and will be in this role in her capacity. It's actually much more in Dr. S's wheelhouse, but I thought we do appreciate the opportunity to engage with Chief Hike-Hubbard, serving the board and serving the greater Baltimore City Schools community. So thank you. Yeah. So for gifts and donation, the board acknowledges a monetary donation of books-related resources, book collections, and Skyberry licenses valued at $362,730 from Reading is Fundamental. And that concludes our gifts and donations this evening. So we want to thank our community for those donations that are important for our scholars and schools. Is there a motion to approve the appeals and hearings?
So moved, Esposito.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Kenyatta Bay.
I'll take Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. All in favor, Commissioner Ames Messenger.
Ames Messenger, yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Redding Lollinger.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
Thank you. And I am also in favor. This motion passes. I'll now review the consent agenda. Board colleagues, please let me know if you'd like an item removed, and please state your question for staff. 6.01, gifts and donations. I am going to pull item 6.02 for a question from staff. And my question specifically for staff is to provide an update to the public and to the board on the reach field plans and the allocation associated with that. Item 6.03, FY25 quarter 2 budget amendments. We are going to pull that item specifically for vote this evening as well. Item 6.04, Hampstead Hill Policy FKA waiver request. Item 6.05, school year 25 and school year 26 district calendar.
I do have a question about that. Are we voting on this year and next year's calendar?
Yeah, those two calendars will go together this evening. So we can provide, if you want some more clarity from board staff, we can provide that this evening. But the full board calendar will be made available once we approve that this evening.
Thanks.
Commissioner Kanyadabe, did you have a question? Okay. Yeah, so just for clarity for our entire public, so following the vote tonight, this will be specifically for changes related to the motion that the board approved at our prior board meeting related to school year 25-26 and school year 26-27's calendar. Item 12.01, Baltimore Symphony Orchestra.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
Real quick question. We are voting on the calendar in two parts, is what you're saying?
So the calendar, so it'll pass on consent this evening.
Okay,
So it'll be, if it's not pulled specifically, so those two calendars are being looped together tonight based upon the motion that was approved by the board in the prior meeting.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
just
I just
need
want to make sure it's
clarity.
very clear for all of our stakeholders. I appreciate the questions. So that calendar will be released following this evening. Thank you. 12.01 is going to be the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra Incorporated. Item 14.01 is United Data Technologies. All right, hearing nothing else other than the two that I pulled. this
Chair,
evening.
yes, I'm sorry. I would also like to pull the item you pulled. I didn't quite hear your question.
Yeah, so just for an update from staff on the particulars of where we stand with the REACH partnership
Yes.
and the associated budget that's allocated in the
Perfect.
fund. Okay,
Great.
thank you. So we'll take public comment, and if there are additional items that board colleagues would like pulled this evening, based upon public comment, we'll come back to that. So I'd like to turn it over to our student colleagues at ASCBC. I believe Taylor Frayling is going to Taylor is going to present on behalf of ASCBC. So I don't know if this is video or in person this evening. Welcome.
Either
Yep.
one is fine. Hello? Oh, okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Taylor Frayling Taylor. I am the sophomore class president at Western High School, as well as ASCBC's LGBTQ diversity liaison. Today, I will provide you with updates about the work ASCBC has been doing to develop student leaders and advocate on behalf of city school students. Okay. Just last week, ASCBC hosted its Winter General Assembly. Students from 42 elementary, middle, and high schools participated in student-led workshops. 30 different student facilitators led 13 workshops on topics like communication, advocacy writing, responsibility, use of artificial intelligence, and more. Thank you to the members of the board who attended and to Board Chair Sally for providing opening remarks. As I speak, students from 24 of our ASCBC member schools are getting settled at the Maryland Associated Student Congress Convention in Ocean City. These students will deepen their skills through workshops, vote for their state-level student representatives, and make connections with student leaders across the state of Maryland. ASCBC's Diversity Committee has also continued its work towards equity within the high school choice process. We recognize that the policy of school choice and our structure of entrance criteria schools creates a system of educational advantages and disadvantages for students in city schools. As a small practical step towards empowering students to navigate the system, ASCBC's Diversity Committee coordinated a high school choice panel with 6th and 7th grade students at Franklin Square on February 19th. A group of high schoolers representing 5 different high schools spoke with students about the range of great high school offerings they can choose from and what they need to do to prepare. I will close by lifting up some of the actions ASCBC has taken to advocate on behalf of all city school students. ASCBC Executive Board members have been in Annapolis to attend and speak at rallies in support of Blueprint for Maryland's Future and better MTA service for city residents. On February 19th, 3 of our executive board members gave testimony during a joint committee hearing in opposition to Senate Bill 429 and House Bill 504, a bill in Maryland's General Assembly that threatens the blueprint for Maryland's future and the financial resources that are critical for students in Baltimore City and across the state of Maryland. They spoke about the progress city schools have made under the blueprint and the way they see this in their classrooms and schools each day. And they encourage legislators to not turn back this process. 35 members of ASCBC's General Assembly traveled to Annapolis again for our Legislative Advocacy Day. This was a day of advocacy and education. Students got the opportunity to have a Q&A session with Senator Cory McCray, listen in on a budgeting and taxation joint committee hearing, and observe the Senate and House chambers. Members of ASCBC's executive board will be returning to Annapolis to rally in support of the blueprint again on March 17th. We urge other students, parents, and community members listening tonight to join us in the final push to protect the blueprint. Students in Baltimore and across the state of Maryland deserve a high-quality, fully funded education that can equip us to become not just the leaders of today, but the leaders of tomorrow and the days after that. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much, Taylor. And we'll be talking, Commissioner Rooks is going to be leading a little bit more in-depth discussion on the General Assembly later this evening. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's my honor and pleasure to be there. I'm going to turn it over to Baltimore Teachers Union, our colleagues who are joining us. Welcome, welcome.
Good evening, board commissioners, Dr. Santelises, and the rest of the Baltimore City Public School community. I'm Diamond Tay Brown, BTU president. I want to start off by talking a little about some of the anxiety that staff here in Baltimore City Public Schools has because of so many uncertainties that they're hearing communicated in state government and federal government regarding funding. Many staff have anxieties around reductions in force. Staff are anxious about cuts, and I think that we can decrease staff's anxiety by sending consistent and frequent communication about BCPSS's reassurances that we do not foresee a reduction in force here in city schools. Additionally, some principals have been communicating to staff that they may have to cut positions, and the rationale sometimes is because of the successful raises that BTU negotiated and uncertainties. We do not want our successful negotiations to be weaponized. And so having principals and administrators talk about staff cuts in a correct and exact way would decrease anxiety, especially having principals differentiate between the difference in staff being reassigned and staff losing their position here with city schools altogether. Being clear about that would also decrease some anxiety. I want to give a shout out to the Director of Labor Relations, Jerome Jones, who's going to be coming to a BTU BR meeting to express to our building reps that we do not foresee a reduction in force here in Baltimore City Public Schools. Actually, we are trying to do a better and better job of retaining staff. I also want to thank you all for giving us an update on the CEO search. And it would be great if you all in your next public presentation talk a little about the CEO search dashboard or whatever you're going to use to keep the public updated on demand. It would be great to hear what that dashboard includes, when it will launch, where the public can find the dashboard, and how often the dashboard will be updated, and what type of information we can find on the dashboard. We do appreciate the email address where we can send concerns in the interim, but having a space where we can go to get information on a regular basis would be even more helpful. Additionally, I want to highlight some concerns around FMLA sensitivity and compassion. Unfortunately, some members have reported that they feel like when they have to deal with a hardship, an injury, a chronic illness, they are not getting the support and compassion they deserve after spending and giving so many years here in city schools. They do understand that when they are going to be absent, it can create a burden on their coworkers as well as the school community, and they feel really bad about that. So additional disparaging comments and remarks about how their absences have a negative impact on the school community creates even more harm and mental instability. I think that it would be helpful if the school board issued a survey or collected feedback in some way from employees that have had to use FMLA, file for FMLA, or take leave to care for themselves or others, so that you can get a better understanding of how BCPSS can be more supportive of its employees when they're dealing with their worst moments sometimes. Lastly, I'd like to address hostile work environments. Several BTU members are reporting an increase in principal bullying, harassment, and unwelcoming attitudes. Unfortunately, this creates a divided and hostile work environment. It creates a situation where you have a staff that complies with the tyranny because of fear and loss of grace. Okay. And then you have a staff that's marginalized. So I urge you guys to look into some of the schools where you have a high turnover rate. And thank you for your time. And I'll be following up with you guys because I got some more to share. Bye.
That was one part of our presentation on that we just did want to make sure the public is really aware of. So there will be more information publicly available on the city schools website soon on the search that is more detailed, so that it is coming forward. So that was my point that I was supposed to add. So I forgot that. So yeah, your remarks. I'd like to welcome our colleagues from, actually, Ms. Emery, from the parent teacher.
I'm glad she moved this table out. In here. So good evening, everyone. I'm Debbie Demery with PTA Council of Baltimore City. Over the past few weeks, I've been contacted by schools wanting to know more about PTA, and that's a good thing. What's not a good thing is the one comment I get. We want to become a PTA, but we heard they charge you. PTA is a membership-driven organization. Members pay dues to participate in the business of the unit, much like the membership fee you pay to join food warehouse such as Sam's Club. You pay a set fee once a year. You can shop without paying the fee, but you can't get the benefits that come with membership, such as the membership price. In PTA, members decide what their dues should be. Out of the dues collected, $4.25 must be sent to the state entity, which is Free State PTA. Free State must send $3.25 to National PTA. National PTA invests the money back into local units by providing programs and resources that support family engagement and student success. They also provide opportunities for grants and awards for healthy lifestyles and arts and education. Speaking of grants, Renaissance Academy High School PTSA is a local unit taking advantage of what PTA has to offer. So please join me in congratulating President Deborah Wallace and Principal Woodhouse for receiving the National PTA Grant, Connect with Kindness, in the amount of $3,000. Each local unit is a 501c3 nonprofit. Free State will pay the incorporation fee and the unit insurance for the first year. PTA is about advocacy on behalf of every child with one voice. PTA believes all children have the right to a quality public education. Not all PTAs are focused in a school or a district. Some are created to address a specific need, population, or area. I am proud to say we have begun the preliminary work to create a PTA designed for those families of children with special needs. Thanks to Ms. Phillips, my partner in crime. She's coming up after me. So I've spoken to a number of parents over the past few weeks who felt bullied, humiliated, and intimidated at their child's school. Children cry because they do not want to go to school. One of the main principles of the National Standards for Family School Partnerships is schools should welcome all families. It's just customer service. City schools is a business. If your business provides lousy service, you will lose your customers. Families, and the last thing I'm going to say, families, know your rights and responsibilities. Thank you very much.
I'd like to welcome Ms. Phillips from Sea Academy.
Good evening, Dr. Santelises, the Board of Commissioners, those in person and those virtual. I'm glad to be here this evening. I have a few announcements. Okay, CCAT means Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee, just in case you didn't know. Our meetings are held the second Monday of every month. This year, April is during the spring break, so we won't have a meeting. We had a meeting last night that was very powerful. We get information from disability rights on decision making. No longer do you have to have guardianship. And there's a bill that was devised October 22. So just to let you know, I have that bill number if you need it. You can call Special Education, they'll direct you to my number. Also, we had an overview about the summer learning experience. ESY is included in that. It's called Extended Year Service. And I want you to know they have got a great program for those who are receiving specialized services. All of them not held just about the IEP, but there are other programs that would help the student become more helpful to his life circumstances. It will help them. So please find out about it. They will send you a letter sometime in March for you to know about the ESY. Also, our transition fair for special education will be held April the 24th. It's on a Thursday at Sheraton and the Harbor. If you need more information, contact Special Education Department. Also, Youth Work starts July 7th through August 8th, 2025. The applications are due April 4th. That's just not for children who is receiving comprehensive education. Children with disabilities can apply and get a job. My son was there for 7 years, and he gained a lot of leadership skills and job training. He's now volunteering in a library, which one of those jobs was with the library. So he has those skills and is able to work in the library. One more thing, Maryland State Department of Education sends out a parent survey every year. It runs from February the 14th through the end of May. Parents, it is important that you take care of this survey. I say this every year, and I will continue to say it as long as I'm chair. This means a lot to the district, to the city, to the state, and to the federal. It lets you know how much and how well we're serving you and your student. The most has been up to 10%, but we're looking to get at least 25, 35% participation in these surveys. Please, please, I urge you to please do these parent surveys. They be in the mail or you can do the email. If you have a problem in May, we'll have set up a way for you to do it while we at the meeting. Our next meeting, like I said, will be May 12th. It's held here at the district on the 3rd floor, room 301. And CCAT has picked May as our mental health month. So that month, Dr. Erica Levy will come and we're going to discuss some behavior and emotional challenges rather than disease. We're going to call it a challenge. So you come and get some great information how to handle those behavioral issues. Also, Mr. Hastings, I met him at the Bear School. He's a behavior specialist. He's helped us work through some things for the students at the Bear School. Thank you for listening. Have a great evening and enjoy this weather.
And so just gonna put that plug out there one more time for the survey. So that should be in the mail.
It should come in the mail.
Got it. And I'm gonna defer to my colleague, like, in terms of the application of that.
Yeah, the survey is actually accessible online, and
It's
so
also-
the
yeah.
school communities will be sending it out to their families as well. I've already received it from my children's
Good.
schools.
Okay.
But so it's, you will be able to access it. You can also go to our website and find the link for the survey as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I'll put the plug out there one more time. So May 12th for the next CCAC meeting from
Yeah.
6 to 8 p.m. here in this building on the third
Third
floor.
301.
301. And our final CCAC meeting of the year is going to be June 9th. I encourage all of our community, not just parents with students with special needs, but our entire community to
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I believe, just want to double check with Dr. Judkins, we do not have any public comment, general sign up, email, written this evening?
That's correct. Yep.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that's a first, but I really do encourage our entire community to sign up, to join, to participate, to let the board know your comments and thoughts. And so we do welcome those. So we appreciate it. Given that portion is concluded, I'm going to turn it over to, actually, I'm so sorry. We've got the consent agenda to do. I was ready to turn it to you. We have some changes to our agenda this evening. So based on public comments or any other additional thoughts from board colleagues, are there items that board colleagues would like pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to post 6.05, the district calendar, and I would request an overview of the ways in which 25, 26, and 26, 27 are similar and dissimilar from staff.
Awesome, great. Let's start with our presentations this evening. So let's go to the top before we vote on the consent agenda. I'm so sorry. Pages in here this evening. So let's start with 6.02 for the update from staff on the REACH partnership. Cindy and Marianne joining us this evening. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Thank you. My name is Mary Ann Cox. I'm the Deputy Chief Financial Officer for City Schools. And here I'm to present with Cindy Smith, the supplemental appropriation for board approval in the amount of $10,667,580 related to the transfer from general fund unassigned fund balance to the capital projects fund for the REACH field project. This is a little different from what we normally do, so I just wanted to, send greetings to the board and the commissioners and thank everyone for an opportunity to talk about this with, a little more detail. I also wanted to pass the CFO's, Chris Doherty's greetings to all the board commissioners, the city school staff and the CEO, and of course our community partners. You understand that everyone is interested in the financial transactions that occur at city schools, especially things of a magnitude of this dollar amount. I wanted to point out that this particular supplemental appropriation aligns with board priorities 3, 5, and 7. In that they relate to high quality modernized facilities and resources that support the success of the students, educators, administrators, and staff. So not only are we trying to enhance the high quality and modernized facilities, we also are working towards equity to offer the best opportunities to all of our students. So that is the ultimate purpose of the supplemental appropriations. So I did want to point out that the funding source for this particular supplemental appropriation differs significantly from most of the supplementals that we do. In this one, we are requesting board approval to transfer $10.7 million from general fund unassigned fund balance. The unassigned fund balance is essentially the residual funding in the general fund, what some people might call the rainy day fund. It's a source of funding that is available to treat unusual transactions, and it's there for transactions that were unforeseen at the time that we did the budget and closed the books. So Cindy will speak at some length about how this is unusual and why we are seeking your approval to do this. So I did want to also point out that we also do this because getting board approval of the supplemental appropriations affects the final budget in our audited financial statements. So as part of our annual audit every year, our external auditors, Clifton Larson Allen, will review the board approved original adopted budget, and then they will go through the quarterly budget amendments as we bring them to the board. And the supplementals are part of the quarterly budget amendments each year because of the way it affects our category balances. And the COMAR regulations require that city schools and any other LEA may not expend more in a given MSDE category than they have appropriated. So that's what we're doing here. We're asking permission to move appropriations. Okay, so that's the first part of a supplemental is basically an accounting mechanism. And then, of course, we go into the programmatic questions. So Cindy Smith will talk about that. I do want to note that we are asking for a supplemental appropriation of approximately 10.7 million gross. However, this contribution net will be lower, approximately $5 million, because we will get funding from other sources. And Cindy Smith will talk about that as well. Okay.
I'm Cindy Smith. I'm the Executive Director for Facilities Planning, Design, and Construction. So for many years, the REACH program has been using the old facility program field that went with the Lake Clifton building. So the REACH is in the new Lake Clifton Park building that was built through the 21st Century Buildings Program. That building, actually, we maximized our site-to-site property. We're actually building now on BCRP property. So we didn't at the time have the ability to build the field. We also didn't have the funding to build the field. It wasn't our property, and we didn't have enough money in that school project to build a field for them. So we've been using across the street, across St. Lo Drive, using what is actually on now Morgan's property, because Morgan has now purchased the Lake Clifton building, but they've been using that field, that old field, and crossing the street for many years now, using that while we've been trying to get this in line. We actually now have a very unique partnership with both the Maryland Stadium Authority and Baltimore City Rec and Parks, of which both of those entities are putting in money also to this, to create this like three-party partnership to build this new stadium for REACH. It's going to be a regulation football field that is turf. So we're trying to convert all of our football fields to turf. So it'll be a turf field. It will be a 8-lane competition track with all of the appurtenances for appropriate track and field events. Competition track. It will have stadium lighting infrastructure. So we'll have all of the wiring under the fields so that when we can finally, hopefully go back and put in stadium lighting, it will have all of that wiring already underneath there. Standard scoreboard, bleachers for 1,500 attendees, and there will be a prefabricated press box as part of those bleachers. There will not be, and I know the community very strongly wants locker rooms and restrooms as part of this project. There is just not enough money in a $10.7 million bid for this, unfortunately, at this time. It is a very wet site. We are on, we're butting right up to stormwater management or storm wetlands, to certified wetlands. So we have to do a lot of stormwater management underneath the field to actually make it a field. So there's a lot of groundwork that is actually going into building this field that you will not unfortunately see, but it is there to make it playable for the next many, many years. Doing this will, of course, then mean that the REACH program and students do not have to cross St. Lo Drive and use that field anymore. So then, Morgan will be able to do what they need to do and demolish that building and build what they need to build. We did receive 2 bids. The bids were very close, but that does, kind of prove that price. And we also did go out to a third outside entity, just kind of because we were a little surprised by how high it came in. Also, it was over our budget. So we did go out to an outside entity who does fields basically as their business to make sure that it was in line. And when they looked at the site, they agreed that we were well in line with this. So we have this agreement. So Rec and Parks will be reimbursing us for a portion of the funding. MSA will be reimbursing us for a portion of the funding, and our outlay total will be about $5 million on our side when it's all said and done.
Fantastic. Can you give the committee just a sense of the timeline
Yep,
for the entire
that's the
project?
one thing I was about to add, and I forgot to say that. Yes. So with this award right now, our contractor is ready to go. We are trying to have the field playable by the first week of September. We have asked the teams to consider moving the first several games off away, so we have a little bit of flexibility there, but that is our aim. And the contractor has said that they believe that they can make that. That is, of course, assuming that our weather cooperates with us and we don't have like the rainiest summer that we've ever had in history, but that, that we will be playable by around the first week of September.
And can you also help to remind all my board colleagues as well as the entire committee the importance of having sports, recreation facilities, and how that adds to the educational attainment of our young people?
Absolutely. So many of our young athletes, many of our young scholars obtain the abilities to go to college through their athletic programs, and it provides that extracurricular support. And it's just such a wholeness. It's just
No, we should be done. I'm putting that stuff away. Thank you.
Remind our public to make sure that their mics are muted this evening. Thank you.
REACH has a very robust athletic program, a very committed community towards those athletic programs, as well as very committed athletic directors and sports, team coaches towards making their athletic program be the best that it can be. So, this is a very much needed, and it has been a significant hardship for them to be crossing St. Lo over, to that other field, and that field is not in great shape. But of course, we haven't wanted to invest a lot of money in that either, since it's not our property, number one, and number two, we knew we were doing this. So, this is something that has been a long fought battle to obtain, that is much needed by our students.
Any other questions by my board colleagues? Yes, sir.
That is the stadium, I'm sorry. Think of microphone.
I listened to the numbers that this can accommodate. Tell me something, is it going to be utilized for more than just REACH? I mean, and the reason why I'm saying, because it sounds like you're also looking at a community-based field too, where other events can take place.
Oh, absolutely. This being in conjunction with Rec and Parks, this is a Rec and Parks site. We have a full use agreement in place regarding our hours versus their hours, our use of the site versus their use of the site, maintenance of it by, be split between the two entities entirely. It will be a full community use site when it is done.
I think that's important for the public to know that, you know, this is the combination that you're building. The other thing that the public may be question of, and you did bring it up, it is the site. You know, we're right there on the marsh, okay? And which was one of the problems we had with, actually Lake Clifton was, you know, it's a lake. So I wanted to know, have we mitigated that problem in this plan?
Our design incorporates everything that's needed for that stormwater management to make sure that that site stays the way it needs to be playable, you know, so that it is flowing the water away like it is supposed to, not retaining it on that site. That is a good chunk of the money that is in this, is doing all of that site work for this project.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Hearing none, this item will be placed back onto the consent agenda. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to move on to 6.05. I'd like to welcome Chief Dabrowski and Simon Beerbaum to present on school year 25-26 and school year 26-27 district calendar. I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Wallinger for his specific question.
And it's actually Deputy CAO, Dr. Swinton.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. All right, well, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share the differences between the two calendars that we've prepared. Before Simon goes into the nuts and bolts of the two calendars, I'll just share that we pretty much followed the same cadence for school year 25-26 and 26-27. And what we heard throughout the feedback cycle was basically that folks want to know right now, and if we can do it ahead of time, that would be even better, because families want to plan and teachers want to be able to plan. And so that is why we have proposed the two calendars, and Simon will share more about what we have planned for it.
Good evening, everyone. So the calendars, as Dr. Swinton said, are very remarkably similar. We started from our same priorities in order to create the calendars, and so they look very similar to each other. The length of the breaks for winter break and spring break are the same. We have the same number of wellness days, including wellness days on Yom Kippur and on Eid al-Fitr planned. The cadence of the professional learning days are the same, with 4 before the school year starts, and then 5 of them on the first Monday of various months, and 1 for the BTU Quest Day as well. And we have continued to plan for early release days at the end of each quarter, plus 1 early release day for parent-teacher conferences. So all of those things that are in our 25-26 recommendation continue to be in our 26-27 recommendation. There are really only 2 key differences. One of them is that spring break is going to start with Easter weekend instead of end with Easter weekend. This only matters because we wanted to make sure that quarter 3 ended right before spring break, and so that's why we flipped which week it happened. We'll still have off on Good Friday as mandated by COMAR. And the other change is that we will actually start the school year with 2 full weeks of school before Labor Day. Typically, we have 1 full week of school before Labor Day. This will have 2 full weeks of school. And the reason for that is just because in 26-27, Labor Day is about as late as it can happen. And so if we were to only have 1 week of school before, it pushes the whole school year back a full week, which means we wouldn't be ending the school year in 26-27 until well into June, possibly going into past Juneteenth even. So it was easier to sort of start at approximately the same calendar date in August, even though it'll be 2 weeks before Labor Day. Those are really the only differences between the 2 calendars.
Thank you, and thank you so much for your hard work on this. I know, the board members have their opinions on the calendar, and we appreciate you working with the board to that end. I also want to applaud you on doing 2 calendars at once. That makes sense from my perspective. From a technical standpoint, I know we have to submit the calendar to MSTE for approval. Do they allow us to do 2 years at once, or will we need to submit next year's calendar next year?
What's up?
We submitted.
Oh, we'll submit next year's calendar next year.
Okay. But we have pretty strong confidence that they will approve. I mean, I guess the question for me is, how should families, once we release these 2 calendars, should we take these calendars as pretty much set, or should we wait for further word to be able to plan?
I think we can give updates throughout the process, but I'm fairly confident that when we submit it, every spring, that once the board approves, that the state will agree.
All right, thank you very much.
Any additional questions? Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes, while I applaud the effort to put 2 years together, I still did not see a settling of community expression that said that, I like your changes for the upcoming calendar, but looking forward to put two calendars together, I think there's still adjustments that may be in the works for the following year. So I do not know whether or not it is a wise thing to do 2 years like that without, allowing that latitude, because there is still a push in there. And I just wanted to express that.
I can take that. So given your concern, I just want to make sure that we're all clear what your concern is this evening. So your concern is that you feel that there was not enough public comment, or I heard two things that were lifted. So not enough public comment related to the development of the calendars.
What I'm understanding, and from what I've heard and from what I've listened to, there is still some adjustment that may be in the following year on the calendar. So by proposing and setting, say we agree with 2 years on this calendar, it doesn't allow for any latitude in adjustments for the, what is it, 26,
27 calendar.
26, 27
Yeah.
calendar. And I think there may be some adjustment moving forward on that.
Okay, so hearing that, you have a couple options like for this evening. So how would you like to proceed based upon your concerns?
I would like to proceed with the acceptance of the changes that you made in the current calendar. And then allow the 26, 27 calendar to be, kept on hold until a later date, until we can table that.
And
26,
my
27.
understanding too is that the system can always amend the 26, 27 calendar if they, correct me if I'm wrong. So my understanding is that if there is a need to ensure that there's refinements, additional public comment, even if we approve the two calendars this evening, the system, I'm sorry, Dr. Santelises and her staff can come back to the board with a recommendation of amendments and refinements to that calendar. Am I correct in my understanding?
Yes, because
that correct?
in the same way that the board directed us this year to change the calendar, the board will always have that right to direct staff to change the calendar through the vote. So there's nothing binding about this in the same way that the recommendation this year was not binding. It is ultimately the board's vote on the calendar and the board's right to amend. And I am receiving affirmation from legal.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
so with that, we can put the calendar, if that suffices to
That
you.
suffices.
Okay, so we'll place the calendar back on consent for vote this evening. So thank you. Any other questions or comments or concerns from board colleagues? Make sure online. I don't see any. Thank you so much. Simon, thank you so much. Dr. Swinton-Buck, I appreciate your time this evening. I'd like to pull item 6.03. This item was pulled for a vote this year. This is for the FY25 Q2 budget amendments. Is there a motion to approve item 6.03?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Redding Lollinger. Is there a second?
Second, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. All in favor? Commissioner Ames Messenger?
Ames Messenger, yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just want to check if Commissioner Mohammed joined us. No. Okay. Commissioner Redding Lollinger?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Rooks.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. Absent. We'll give her just a second. She may not be here. That's fine. And I'm in favor. This motion passes. Is there a motion to approve the remaining consent agenda?
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll record your vote. We'll have Board Executive record your vote in the affirmative. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the remaining consent agenda this evening?
So moved, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. All in favor? Commissioner Ames Messenger?
Ames Messenger, yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Redding Lollinger.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Rooks.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
Thank you. And I am also in favor. This motion passes. Now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Santaluces for CEO comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. First, I do want to say a big shout out. I know Taylor had to go. I want to thank Commissioner Rooks for flagging her down for this. But I do want to give a shout out to Taylor. I know we will hear from Commissioner Rooks later during comments. But I do just want to say that the level of advocacy, of professionalism, the preparation of our young people is making Baltimore City proud. Taylor's presentation this evening, just the accuracy, the alignment has just grown exponentially. My three daughters will tell you, I tend to be an old school teacher, so I don't like raggedy. And I will tell you that the level of professionalism, of preparation, their presence in Annapolis has just increased 100 to 200 fold. They are without a doubt representing us well. And I will tell you, this room, I said to the chair, this room was packed with luggage and young people all over. It did not look this neat and tidy. Today, when I walked back in the office at about 11:45, and this room was packed out with young people ready to go to their convention, ready to present. Baltimore City will be doing a lot of things that Commissioner Rooks will let us know. But I just want you to know the pride that I continue to feel in the way that our young people are not only pushing in the classroom, but pushing in their community and their state. So Taylor, I know you are going home to get homework done, and that's where you should be going. But I just want to shout out just all of ASCBC. Haley Tilt, we continue to just thank you for your leadership as well, but just a job well done continually. So I wanted to say that this evening. And now I would like to continue the evening by recognizing another accomplishment by one of our school police officers. In December, Officer Brandon Howard was awarded the distinction of Baltimore City School Police Officer of the Year by the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW, Baltimore County Branch. The award cited Officer Howard's attention to detail, this is true, motivation, absolutely, and unselfish mentoring of others regardless of rank. It is my pleasure to call upon School Police Chief Jeffrey Shorter to present Officer Howard. You can come on up, Officer Howard, with a certificate recognizing his achievement with our congratulations and our thanks for his service to our schools and students. And so for those of you who do not know, Officer Howard was my security detail for a number of years, which is why he gets a special little hug. And I will tell you, one thing that I enjoy in addition to everything that was cited is Officer Howard is an absolutely diligent and attentive father. He makes sure that she reads. From the time we would ride together, he would always ask me tips about how to support her learning. He was very proud to tell me passing in the hallway that she is advanced in all of her classes and her reading and math level. And I admire people whose work life and home life are aligned. And you are an amazing dad, and we are so proud to have you as part of Baltimore City Schools Police. And tonight, we also have the opportunity to recognize our district leaders who have made great strides in leading their schools and teams while demonstrating a commitment to our students, families, and communities. These individuals are part of the Pizzazza Pathway, and they demonstrate what it means to lead with purpose. Normally, President Perry from Pizzazza would join me. He's unable to be here tonight. Who knows? It could be because he has a brand new gorgeous grandbaby. And I know he gets drafted at the last minute to babysit. But at this time, I would like to invite our Chief Human Capital Officer, Emily Nielsen, to join me in presenting certificates to this year's recognized leaders, starting with our transformational principals. And Chief Nielsen's I'm going to announce folks, and if you don't mind being right here, that way I can shake hands and announce, that would be awesome. Thank you, ma'am. So our first transformational principal is Mark Bongiovanni from Curtis Bay Elementary Middle. And he's not here tonight. All right. Well, next, who I believe I saw wearing some sort of tiara crown, is Tanya Green from Waverly Elementary Middle School. Next, we have Betty Adams from the historic Samuel Coleridge Taylor Elementary. There she is. Congratulations. Good to see you. Congratulations. Yay. Our next transformational principal is Bernarda Qua from Govins Elementary. Next is Lashella Stanfield from Cross Country Elementary Middle. And next we have Alicia Manning from Cecil Elementary School. And I'd like to welcome and congratulate Stephanie Novak from Hollibird Elementary Middle. And our next transformational principal is Darren Brozine from Baltimore Design School. And do we have Brandon Pinkney in the house from Roland Park Elementary Middle? Where is he? Okay. Is he there? Is he online? You can show us your picture if you're there, Principal Pinkney. Oh, okay. Next, we have Emily Hunter from Arlington Elementary Middle. Congratulations. And then we have Sherelle Barnes from Edgewood Elementary. And our final transformational principal for the evening is Olia Hardy from William Paca Elementary. I don't know if she's online. Oh, okay, lacrosse practice for your son takes precedent. I understand. Not hating her. Next, I want to recognize this year's distinguished principals, starting with Tanika Lipscomb from Wildwood Elementary Middle. Our next distinguished principal is Ben Mosley from Glenmount Elementary Middle. There you go. Wonderful. Congratulations. And our final distinguished principal is Miguel Cervantes del Toro from Patterson Park Public Charter School. Great. Leaders from across the district office have also made valuable contributions by prioritizing the well-being of our students. And so this year's distinguished district administrator is Mawani Mathui, School Success Liaison, Special Education. All right, sounds like she had to left. So I would like to just congratulate all of the honorees this year. We thank you for your work, for your service on behalf of Baltimore City students and our families. Congratulations, everyone.
Can I chime in real quick?
Yeah.
Just with a special thank you to all of our principals. As I look across this audience here, there's a number of principals here who have been so welcoming to the entire board, to the entire community, to let us know about the secret sauce inside of your schools, many of which I've been to. And so I'm very thankful to have seen a sliver of the really hard work that you and all the teachers inside of those buildings do to make sure each and every one of our scholars have an exceptional educational experience. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And then finally, I want to just take a moment to send a big shout out to Chief Tommy Jones and his entire team in the Office of Information Technology. I will just say that protecting our information and systems from relentless attacks by bad actors is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. And the OI team has responded to this challenge, particularly over the last few weeks, with a level of professionalism and commitment that really is deserving of the highest praise. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of everyone at City Schools. And Chair, that concludes my comments for this evening. I'll turn back to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm actually going to pass the mic down one more spot to Commissioner Rooks to lead us through his both committee reports and a little bit more on ASCBC and his leadership.
Thank you, Chair. So students, it is that time of year to vote for your next student commissioner and ASCBC officer. The elections will take place May 19th through the 22nd. All 6th through 12th graders are encouraged to vote. You can find more information on the city schools website or the ASCBC's website, which I will give the link to communications to share out. Students can apply for the student commissioner and ASCBC officer roles until March 20th. March 20th is when the applications close. We do have an upcoming meeting, mandatory meeting, that will be held this month, I believe. I will get back to you on that. From the Winter General Assembly, we had 42 schools attend, which means 370 students and their advisors attended. We had 13 different workshops led by students. Commissioner Ames Messenger, Commissioner Coy, Commissioner Esposito, and Board Chair Sally had attend this General Assembly. Unfortunately, I could not. The next General Assembly is April 9th, which includes a nominating convention for the student commissioner and the ASCBC officer. The ASCBC will be attendance March 17th on a rally in Annapolis for the Blueprint to Protect Education funding. Unfortunately, I will not be there due to SATs, unfortunately. But I would like to pass it to Commissioner Esposito for her comments on the Winter General Assembly.
Awesome. Thank you. So I got to attend a disability awareness and inclusion training that was led by Niara from Youth as Resources. And basically what they did is they did an exercise with all the students in the room to give them an idea of what it's like to try to do an exercise with disabilities, to understand the barriers to students' participation. And then on the flip side of that, once they did the exercise, they did an exercise with accommodation so that they could see how those little changes and modifications were able to support all the students in the room. And I think that they were really able to do an exercise that helped them build empathy and a better understanding and a better definition of like what disability is. So it was really great to just sit there, observe, and be able to give them feedback. And yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. I will now switch it to Chair Sally to give his comments on the Winter General Assembly.
So I had a really fun opportunity to sit in on a session led by Devin on email etiquette. And so Devin took students through an exercise of how to really prepare a conversation, a professional conversation through a number of scenarios on grading, absences, and you name it. And so observing that, it was kind of cool in terms of like having a student coach peers at different age levels in terms of how to put together an appropriate email to make sure it sounds right, how to proofread, and at the same time, the wait time, like knowing that you may not get an immediate response from your teacher, but recognizing you'll get one and what to do once you get that response and how to prepare for additional conversations from them. So I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was really well done. So kudos to Devin.
Thank you, Chair. I did find the list of workshops. We have attitude, how good grades shape your future, time management, email etiquette, advocacy, writing, empowering your SGA, communications and miscommunication, SMART goals, planning for the future, building connections, connection building, and kindness, bullying prevention strategies. Thank you, Chair. That now concludes my student commissioner remarks.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Rooks. And as mentioned in the top of the presentation today, top of the board meeting today, more information on the upcoming elections will be made available through subsequent board meetings. And so stay tuned on that. Commissioner Mohammed is not here this evening, and the report coming out of safety and wholeness on our last listening session. I want to defer to our next board meeting, but we'll have more information and themes shared from that. Do you want to turn it over to Commissioner Slater Harrington for an update on the Teaching and Learning Committee? She's going to join us in just a second. So just a reminder, Safety and Wholeness is going to meet on March 18th, coming up on Thursday from 4 to 5:30. Dr. Judkins, we have a mic disabled situation on our virtual. Yeah, she can't unmute. Our Operations Committee is going to meet on Tuesday, March 18th from 10:30 to 12:15. Did I mention policy? And did we have a policy update from last month? Oh, do you have any updates you want to share? We are going to skip teaching and learning just because of the mic situation this evening, but we'll catch up at our subsequent board meeting on that. We can catch up on policy next time too. Do a double header? We'll do a double header coming up next time. So no problem at all. We do have two information presentations this evening I want to move to. So for item 9.01, this is policy FFA, Augusta Fell Savage, naming, renaming a school facility, district gallery name, and proposal, intro, and discussion. So I'd like to welcome our Senior Executive Director of New Schools Initiatives, Angela Alvarez. I always get the office name completely wrong.
The office.
Office of New Initiatives.
They're very easy.
Okay, get it back together. While we're doing that, good evening, Chair Sally and the rest of the board commissioners. I'm Angela Alvarez. I'm the Senior Executive Director of the Office of New Initiatives. We're bringing two naming proposals. One is a brand new thing that we're doing that we're excited about. That'll be in the second half of the presentation. These naming proposals align to board priorities 5 and 7. 5 is about providing equal access and being seen. It's about access. And so naming for folks who represent the values of our students and represent our students helps with that being seen and that's feeling a part of access. And it's also an important part of equity, which is board priority 7. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my manager team of Kendra Biggs and Lindsay Anderson.
Good evening, everybody. Board policy FFA on naming or renaming states in the purpose statement that the expectation that our school programs and facilities, the names should honor the culture, experiences, and humanities of our communities, and that student voices should be empowered in the process. And so this purpose really grounds our work when we bring about a naming or renaming process. The policy requires that a naming committee is established, that the school community is engaged, including opportunities to suggest name ideas and to vote on the final name considerations before the name is brought back to the board for a vote. The naming policy also requires certain core questions, including whether the name honors the experience, culture, and humanity of students, and whether the person has an established record of service. The first request we're going to bring to you tonight for information is from Augusta Fell Savage Institute for Visual Arts. This request is a part of bringing together Bluford Drew Jemison STEM Academy and Augusta Fell Savage, who combined together in fall of 2024. It represents creating a shared identity for both school communities that reflects both school communities and a way to honor the legacy of all of the individuals that both schools are named after. As a part of that transition process, just some highlights. We've seen the enrollment at Augusta Fell Savage increased as they welcomed 62% of the rising 9th through 12th graders from Bluford Drew Jemison at the beginning of this year. They've increased their course offerings, including AP offerings and new arts offerings that attempt to kind of bridge the art and STEM focus of both schools. They've also leveraged partners to be able to provide STEM experiences. Over the summer, a select group of students got to attend a STEM program at Princeton. We have brought over partners from Bluford Drew Jemison that were an important part of the culture at that school, and we continue to make facilities improvements, including most recently, the school is receiving renovations to their art gallery spaces as a part of the Maggie McIntosh Art Center grant. So the naming request that we're bringing for information tonight is the school is considering naming spaces in their building after Charles Drew, Guyon Bluford, and Mae Jemison to maintain the legacy of these individuals and Bluford Drew Jemison STEM Academy. They're currently in the process of determining which spaces they would like to recommend for these these spaces are named after. Augusta Fell Savage was a sculptor, a teacher, and a community art program director who rose to prominence during the Harlem Renaissance. Guyon Bluford is an African-American engineer and was the first African-American in space. Charles Drew was an African-American surgeon and a medical researcher who developed ways to process and store blood in blood banks. And Mae Jemison is an engineer, a physician, and a former NASA astronaut and was the first African-American woman to travel in space. So our naming timeline, this month, the school is establishing a naming committee. They are engaging with the SGA and also will be having a naming forum later this month. At the end of March and into April, we will be engaging the broader school community in the process. And then at the end of April, the school community will be voting on the final names and spaces. And then we will be bringing it back to the board for a vote in May. I'm going to turn it over to Kendra.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, so the second request that we're bringing forth is the District Art Space Naming Initiative. And this request is to seek and honor influential figures in the arts and education of Baltimore City who have made a positive impact on Baltimore City's community. And the goal is to engage the school community district or the district community, including like the district school staff, board members and students and community stakeholders in the selection of the gallery's name through a decision-making process. The first artist we want to present is Ernest Shaw. He's a renowned Baltimore-based artist and a city schools educator known for his powerful murals and portraits. Second, we have Valerie Maynard, who was also a city schools educator, and she was also a pioneering sculptor, printmaker, and multidisciplinary artist. James E. Lewis was a pioneering African-American artist, educator, and curator from Baltimore who shaped the arts and education landscape. And he also founded the James E. Lewis Museum, which is located at Morgan State University. Fourth, we have Joyce J. Scott, born and bred here in Baltimore City. And she is an internationally acclaimed artist and educator known for her innovative and phenomenal beadwork and mixed media pieces. And lastly, we have Jacqueline Jackie Copeland, who was a distinguished arts administrator, curator, and an advocate for cultural equity, who made a lasting impact on Baltimore's arts and education landscape. The voting process timeline opened up on January 15th. We started with the introduction to district staff in the district staff meeting. The current timeline is January 15th to March 21st, but we will be extending that to April 25th so we can allow for more community members to share their voice and put in their votes. March 24th was the date that we would be tallying, but now it will be April 28th, and we will be presenting the recommendation, and it will be finalized so that we can present to the board. And May 27th, we'll be presenting the name to the board for a vote. And once again, the voting period is January 15th to April 25th. You'll have an opportunity to review the bios by accessing that link through our Inside Scoop News communications and also on the website. And the deadline is now April 25th, where you should cast your vote. If you have any questions, you can reach Angela, Lindsay, or myself, and we look forward to your votes and your feedback. Thank you.
want to say, so just to remind my board colleagues as well as the public, when we look at school closure and combination, we talk about the importance of bringing together the cultures of our buildings and the contributions that both of the cultures have brought together to their school communities. And so this is the work that we continue to see move forward. And so I appreciate the work that both Lindsay, Kendra, and our senior director Alvarez is doing to really ensure that this is a part of our legacy here in city schools and honoring that. So we really do appreciate the work. Thank you. It means a lot to our young people.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say one thing. We're really excited about naming this art gallery space. This is the first time this building can participate in a naming thing as well as the broader community. So I just want to reiterate what Kendra said of everybody in this room can participate in that vote. So please go on the website. Again, we're extending it to make sure we can get more folks' participation. So we're super excited about that.
Thank you. We're seeing the work coming through. All right, we are going to move on to item 9.02. This is JJIC, the academic eligibility for interscholastic and interscholastic athletics. I believe we have Dr. Sonia Goodwin. We got a whole team tonight. We got Simon, we got everybody.
I was gonna say, Simon, you're doing double duty tonight.
I'm actually not the one with all the information. These are the superstars tonight. So good evening, board chair, commissioners, Dr. Santelises. We're here in front of you today. As you know, my name is Sonia Goodwin. I'm the Executive Director for Whole Child Services and Supports, and I am joined by the directors. We have our academic team right here. He's laughing at me because he thinks I'm going to mess up his name. Simon Berenbaum from academics, yes. And we have Director Tiffany Bird as well. We thank you for allowing us to come before you today in order to go through the first reader to propose revisions to the academic eligibility for scholastic athletics. And I am going to turn it over to the superstars for the presentation.
Are too kind. Good evening, Board Chair Sally, Dr. Santelises, and esteemed board members or board committee. We are commissioners, I apologize. We are really excited this evening to come before you. Again, my name is Tiffany Bird. We're going to talk about JJIC this evening, which aligns with district priorities 4, 5, 6, and 7. We will definitely be respectful of the requirements placed before us. So we actually have entered a lot of this information also into the appendix. So hopefully that has been helpful. As many people know, Under Armour is a valued partner of the district. I think most notably people see the uniforms and they also see the improvements that are made to building, but they also have a significant contribution with the Student Athlete Leadership Conference, and they are definitely involved and interested in the academic achievement of students. So they do have a data analysis that they do every year. And one of the things that you will see from the 23-24 data, which is consistent with the year prior, is that there's a positive correlation between athletic involvement and also the improved student outcomes in key areas such as the ones presented here: attendance, grade point average, also promotion and retention. So as we're talking about these proposed revisions, they would actually go into effect in the next school year 25-26. So fall student athletes will be the first to experience the new requirement. The goals in reviewing this policy and updating it, we definitely wanted to analyze the demographic data to make sure, identify if there were any disparities in our eligibility outcomes. Additionally, we wanted to make sure that there was a balance between the academic demands that were placed on students and also their commitment to athletics. And definitely we wanted to ensure that there could be a criteria that may allow for wider participation in athletics for students. In the section of purpose, we do have some proposed additions. The current section, we believe, talks about the fact that it is a privilege to participate in athletics, but we believe our commitment is stronger than that. So we definitely enhance this part of this section to talk about the involvement in education-based athletics and put some emphasis on the fact that it definitely shows our commitment to promotion and retention policies as well. This is a minor revision, but it is one that we believe makes the policy more clean. You will see in our former policy, we use the word intrascholastic. That language has been confused with the word intramural, so we simply want to refer to middle school athletics as middle school athletics and also update the name of the policy to be academic eligibility for scholastic athletics. Our current policy, as it relates to our requirements for students, students are required to have a 2.0 GPA. They are also required not to have any more than one grade below passing at eligibility decision points. Those decision points have been outlined for you in the appendix. However, it is typically the marking period preceding the sports season. The proposed revisions will allow for one eligibility requirement per grade band. Here you will see a quarterly minimum GPA of a 2.0 will be required for students in grades 10 through 12 and also any repeat ninth graders. Requirement for first-time ninth graders, pretty consistent with many of the eligibility policies you will see in the state and other places, allow for automatic eligibility for a first-time ninth grader. Sometimes coming out of 8th grade, they don't have a GPA, so they get a free pass, essentially, to participate in that fall season, and then they would have no more than one grade below passing at our decision points. That is consistent with what we use for the students who are participating in our district-coordinated middle school programs, so it is a policy that they would be familiar with if they previously participated. The rationale for this change with ninth graders, it does allow us to streamline the policy, reducing some administrative burden. It also gives greater access. There was some feedback and concern that fall eligibility did not require a GPA requirement, but that didn't extend to the winter and also to the spring season. We did get feedback, and there is one county we're aware of that does not have an academic GPA requirement for the entire year for freshmen, but that was concerning for many of our stakeholders. They thought it was too far throughout the school year to not have a requirement. So you will see we have proposed a transition for them, but we do have a requirement on academics. We believe that this transition will make it more smooth because we understand that it's sometimes difficult transitioning from middle school to high school, and it will also give greater access to those freshman students while connecting them hopefully to a caring adult who will be monitoring that progress and providing them support. We have collaborated with the academics office, so we do or would like to call out that this policy is in alignment with their work, and it focuses, of course, on getting all ninth graders to pass all courses and accumulate credits. The rationale here for eliminating the course failures, you will see, again, it eases that administrative burden. It allows us to have one requirement, but we also have learned that there is minimal impact on the number of students that will be eligible. And I think this is a great transition to Mr. Birnbaum, who will take you through the data that will show that.
Thank you, Director Byrd. The first slide here for the data is you'll see academic eligibility across the 20 schools that we manage for interscholastic athletics. You can see that there's a wide discrepancy among schools about the percentage of students that are eligible. So the green bars represent eligible students, academically eligible students from Q1 of last year. And you can see that it's not evenly distributed across all schools, but some schools are impacted much more by the exclusion of students for academic eligibility. You can see here what the impact of these proposed changes would be. On the left side, you can see data from first-time ninth graders. The proposed change would allow the students that fall into that orange category there to maintain athletic eligibility at the decision points, after the decision points. And then on the right side, you can see for the non-first-time ninth graders, that very sliver of a blue bar is the percentage of students that would be impacted after your ninth grade year. So it has a much bigger impact on ninth graders than non-ninth graders, first and ninth graders, and serves to increase the eligibility for those students. Importantly, we saw from our data that if this change were impacted, we would anticipate a decrease in the discrepancies among demographic groups for athletic eligibility. Our data shows that athletic eligibility is not evenly distributed across demographic groups. We find that female students are more likely to be eligible than male students, white students more eligible than African American or Hispanic students, and non-ML students are more likely to be eligible than ML students. The proposed changes here for first-time ninth graders would reduce the gaps in eligibility among these groups, among all these groups.
Thank you so much. We currently have 3 alternative pathways to eligibility, which we propose to maintain in the policy. We have summer school, we have an academic waiver, and we also have academic probation. An academic waiver is applied when a student does not meet the 2.0 standard, but they do have a strong academic history. So we will look at 4 consecutive quarters, and if that is over a 2.0, they can apply for a waiver and be allowed to participate. Summer school, we got stakeholder feedback and we recognize that we were proposing to increase because you have a maximum of 2 courses that can be applied through summer school to your eligibility. We wanted to raise it to 3. And after going through and getting feedback, we understand that the academic office should determine if there are any restrictions, and our policy should just be consistent with those changes. So the number won't have to move and shift as they make different transitions with that. With our academic probation, this is the area that you may see the most significant change being proposed. We want to tighten the rules for academic probation to prevent misuse. At this time, we do have a probation contract that students are required to sign in order to be on probation. Probation is offered to students who have not met the academic requirements. At that time, they can work with the team through a tryout. They are not allowed to travel. They are not allowed to be issued a uniform. They are not allowed to participate in a contest until they go through a 20 academic day period in which they go through study support sessions. So they can feel a part of the team, but not fully participate until we reevaluate their academic progress and reinstate them at this time. But we do currently allow students to use that multiple times, and we want to put a restriction on that students may only use that with permission and applying for a process to use it multiple times. And I want to be extremely clear to you today that multiple times would mean multiple times in one school year or multiple seasons, because there could be a student athlete who only participates in one sport. And so if you are coming back for a second season of that, then it is important for us to note that that student will have to get a waiver. They will have to have something completed at their school level that shows their counselor is telling us if they are on track to graduate or where they currently stand. Their principal is in support, and then that information will be forwarded to district office where it will be reviewed by athletics and academics in order to be allowed to use it more than one time. We did want to note here that we have collaborated with a number of offices just to make sure that we're promoting wellness and addressing any barriers that there may be to interscholastic athletics, and you'll see some of those policies listed here. Additionally, we have added language to talk about what the local school responsibility is. We recognize and understand that the students have an accountability piece, but we feel the schools do also. And so for the first time, we have outlined here that they should evaluate the effectiveness of the support programs they're offering on an ongoing basis, because we too have a responsibility to make sure that there is tutoring, that there is monitoring, counseling or credit recovery assistance to student athletes. Additional proposed revisions, you will see that we want to make the language consistent and use, instead of using quarter, we are proposing to use marking periods. And we also want to transfer some language that is solely living in our handbook to this policy, which talks about transfer students and how their academic progress is evaluated. And additionally, we have a rule that doesn't allow you to participate in the same sports season for 2 different schools. So we want that language to live here also. Other revisions that we have are procedures that schools can have a more stringent requirement if approved by the board on academic waiver process or academic probation. We realize some schools feels like they've made significant progress with not needing to use academic probation. So we want to give them the space to be able to do that with your approval, of course, and also an explanation of an appeals process for academic eligibility. As it relates to stakeholder engagement and feedback, we do understand that this is a Tier 3 policy, so we did have some requirements, and if the next slide will show you the stakeholders that we have engaged, the groups, and also the method that we've used to engage them. I consider this part to be ongoing. We welcome the feedback. We've met, as you see, with a number of groups, and much of that feedback has been included in the appendix for you. This is our timeline. We're here, of course, today at first reader, and we anticipate second reader being on April 22nd. Not only would I like to take this time to thank you so much for the time that you've given us, I would definitely like to thank the offices that have collaborated with us and worked so closely. We do appreciate their support as well.
Thank you, Tiffany. Really appreciate the presentation. And I do want to remind my board colleagues and the public as well that the information in the appendix, this is a evolution of the board. We have more information that is really important detail for us to consider as we make our decisions on policies and other items that come before us. And so I do encourage you to make sure you read through that. If there are questions and comments about that, we're also happy to service that. But I want to turn it over to our policy chair to lift a couple of things, given this policy has gone through that committee.
Thank you, Chair. So I know we had a really good discussion about waivers and special circumstances. And we also got to witness you all like listening to students who were able to give great feedback. And in the timeline that you all had, I remember we discussed like you all were going to specifically reach out to like most impacted students who had experienced like using, waivers or getting exceptions or working through the process. What would you say was the feedback that helped maybe have been something that you guys didn't consider or was helpful in creating the policy?
I would first say that I consider this, and I've always stated that from the beginning, a pretty polarizing topic. So with all the feedback that we've gathered, regardless of what the stakeholder says, we probably have a comment or some feedback that says the exact opposite. I think one of the things that we did here, that there were a number of circumstances and reasons why students may end up on academic probation. We had an opportunity to meet with some students at Patterson, and they wanted us to consider that many of those students work, that they have other family responsibilities. And so I think, although we thought we were very thoughtful about it, that they did feel, I think that they were heard, and also some agreement that being able to apply for it and not just closing the door with the hard pass if you may only do it one time. I think that they did feel that that was, I guess, a compromise on being able to support them if there was a struggle that they may not have disclosed to anybody or something that we just had not yet considered.
Awesome, thank you.
Other questions or comments from board colleagues? One I had, and I apologize I didn't answer, or I'm sorry, apologize I didn't ask this during the policy committee. I'm curious, did you guys engage the higher ed community as you guys were thinking about the development of this policy to garner, especially, when we're talking about the relationship between academics and athletics, but recognizing that athletics are really important for our young people who want scholarships. I'm just curious, as you're thinking about rounding out this policy, the role of higher ed in shaping what we may see.
At this stage, we have not. We did do a lot of benchmarking, but we have not really engaged higher ed. I do think we've had conversations, however, about what the requirements are at the NCAA level for students who are I guess, qualified for those scholarships. And in those conversations, we did have extensively with athletic directors. We understand that schools have the responsibility. It's almost similar to differentiating instruction in the classroom. Like most of our students that are participating do not go on to the next level to play sports. That's not a bad thing. It is simply a national average. This is a terminal experience for most students that are participating, but we have a responsibility to identify those students who are gifted to make sure that they are academically on track. We understand that the standard is higher. We know the 2.3 requirement and the support that should be provided. We definitely can extend ourselves to have those conversations, but we have discussed what those requirements are as it relates to the policy that we have in place.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Further comments, questions? I want to thank both Tiffany, Simon, and Sonia, as well as Dr. Place Jose in the back there for just putting together a really wonderful policy for us to review. So thank you. All right. I think that takes us to the end of our presentations for this evening. Just want to invite the public to the policy committee, I believe on March 18th. If I didn't mention this before, ops coming up same day on March 18th, safety and wholeness also March 18th. Wow. Lot going on. And then our next board meeting will be March 25th. We'll get started at 5:30 p.m. here. And recognition that it is daylight savings time. I'm sorry I couldn't get everybody out to enjoy that extra hour of sunlight at the end. I'm looking forward to celebrating more on Women's History Month later in the month. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Kenyatta Bay.
For a second,
Second Esposito.
all in favor, signal by saying yay.
Yay.
We are adjourned for the evening. I'll see everybody soon. Thank you.
Hi.